EOS Go presents EOS Radio, your first source for everything about the new blockchain Internet of Value. You'll hear from key contributors to EOS, including interviews with Block.one, dApp development teams, and block producers. You'll get community updates and answers to common questions, meetup information, opportunities to get involved in EOS, and much more. We're live every Monday at 6 p.m. EST, and now it's time for your hosts, Kev and Bluejays, in 3, 2, 1.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to EOS Radio, episode 9. It is April 23rd, and today we have a packed agenda. Kevin, you want to give that rundown?
Hey guys, welcome to episode 9, EOS Radio. Welcome back. It's Happy Monday. Or Happy Tuesday, depending on where you might be, I suppose. For EOS Asia, it's already Tuesday, it's 6 a.m., and I believe they're coming on 3rd today. We have 4 guests total. Let me check here. We got EOS Dublin coming on. We also have Tokenika. I think Tokenika will be on first, it looks like. And then we have EOS Asia. So Tokenika is going to be first, and then EOS Asia will be second, EOS Dublin. And then we have a pre-recorded show with EOS Nairobi. So Nairobi, they weren't able to come on live, but we did talk to them on Saturday. It looks like Bluejays and Top K-Pop got on the line with them and discussed EOS and what it means to Nairobi, Kenya. So they will be coming out to pre-recorded segment. We will play that later on in the show. They will be fourth. And then the last will be Mr. Thomas Cox. He'll come on again, answer some questions. And we are taking questions live this time too. So if you have any, please supply some questions in the YouTube comments throughout the show, if you happen to think of some. And we will compile them and add them onto the list for when we talk to Thomas later tonight. So looking good.
Yeah. Tokenika can join anytime, guys. If you guys have the link, please come on in. Kevin, what do you think about this lineup?
I mean, we've had some folks talk about how, we have a lot of folks on every week. It's a long show. We always try to put the timestamps in the description. So if you're looking to sort of skip around, we make it easier for you. And also we try to cut up the videos. We put it on podcast, things like that. So you can hopefully throughout the week, you can pick out the parts that you want to listen to. We know that 2.5 to 3 hours worth is not always easy to listen to all at once. Not everybody has that kind of time. So, yep, bear with us. And of course, there's a lot of candidates and interviewees who'd like to come on, which is to be expected, I guess. We're leading up to launch, of course. We have a lot of block producer candidates. We had a big announcement today, just came out a few hours ago. Bitfinex has announced their block producer candidacy. What do you expect, Bluejays? What do you think?
Well, yeah, we'll cover that in the news. I just wanted to also remind everybody that this goes out on podcast. So like Kevin mentioned, it is a long show, but it is, you can hear the full length in audio on a podcast in iTunes, as well as, I believe, a couple of other podcasting sources. But iTunes is the main one. We will put that link in the description, and also so that you can find that. And we can also, like Kevin said, we also cut up the videos as well.
Yep. Try to make it easier for you guys. Looks like we have Tokenika coming in from Poland. They are going to be joining us. We're going to talk to them about so they're not as well known, but Tokenika has been around a long time, we should say. They'll tell us more about that. They've been around since the BitShares days, I should say, with Dan Larimer. So if you don't know much about Tokenika, you're about to learn quite a lot about the past, what made EOS what it is today, how EOS has evolved into what it is, more about worker proposals, which BitShares already has, and maybe we'll hear more about that kind of stuff. What do you think, Bluejays? What else do we want to talk about?
Yeah, they've been around, so like you said, since BitShares, and they're really involved in the Steam ecosystem as well. So that's the Steam and the Steemit ecosystem. They believe they have a couple projects that have already been delivered and already operational. Steam projects is one, and they also have a new website for EOS, which is called EOS Projects, and they will let us know a little bit more about that. But I like the teams that have a little bit of experience with past DPoS projects. Not that it's not good to be brand new to the area, but they do bring that veteran type of experience to know how things like worker proposals work, and also technically from the back end how things can be coded for that as well.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey,
Hi.
Jacob.
Hi. We're just waiting for Martin.
Nice to meet you. It's been a while.
Nice.
Actually, I never personally met you before. But hey, how you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. Hi.
You have a little bit of feedback. If you can mute the YouTube video, maybe if you have it pulled up. I never personally met you. There's a bit of a delay. That's why some folks are hearing me later on after the fact.
Okay.
Thanks.
Just waiting for Martin. Please hold on.
Where are you located?
It's a very nice place. It's called Brain Embassy. It's a place in Warsaw.
Okay.
It's very nice.
Okay, I think we're all together now.
Hey, Martin,
Hey.
how are you?
Hi, nice to meet you guys. Hey.
Nice to meet you. And yeah, so go ahead and give us a little background about you. So you're Warsaw. It must be midnight there? How late is it in Warsaw?
Actually, it's after midnight. Yes.
After.
Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty late.
It looks like it almost looks like we're seeing the outside, and it seems like it's almost daylight still, but that's not the case, right?
No, it's not.
Okay.
It's the middle of the night. Okay, so Martin will give you some background about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Martin. So normally what we do for this, we do a who, what, when, why, and where, and then we just sort of started off with the who's. And so if you could just introduce yourself and a little bit more about you, and the same for Jakob as well.
Yeah, I'm actually hearing everything twice with about a 5-second delay, which makes it very confusing for some reason.
I think Martin, you need to switch off YouTube, because I think you have double.
Okay. Yeah, that fixes everything. Okay, now
There
we're
you go.
on the same page.
Yes.
That was really difficult. Your brain has to think twice. Okay. So about our backgrounds, we've known each other with Kuba for a really long time, since college actually, which is about 20 years now. You do the math how old we are. We wouldn't like to probably say out loud.
So that's your nickname for him, Kuba, right?
Yeah, Kuba is actually a proper name for Jakub in Polish. So this is their version of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we studied together, and then long story short, we got to the point where the crypto was launching, which was about 2012. There was some major ripples in the media about it, and this is what caught our attention. And probably around maybe shortly after the first Bitcoin spike, or around that time, we started really getting sort of philosophical about it as to what the repercussions of this could be. And then shortly after that, actually we were very early aware of the scaling problems that were to be had with Bitcoin. And also we remember the launch of Ethereum, and it was all in the kind of same ballpark of just a few transactions per second. And so I remember we were also very fascinated by this protocol called Open Transactions, which was originated by Chris Autumn. I don't know if you guys know this dude, but he was sort of like a pre-blockchain this individual that was toying with this hash graph-like transaction payments. And after talking to him at some Bitcoin conference in Amsterdam, we figured out that the scalability is going to be everything in this business. That if something doesn't scale, it will go nowhere, and that's the end of it. You can have as fancy technology as you can, but if it doesn't work, then no one's gonna care. And so again, rewinding the tape forward, we actually witnessed the launch of the first incarnation of BitShares. Even before that, when Dan Larimer was working on ProtoShares and all these funny little vehicles that his brain was generating at the time. And we were very thrilled by the whole concept of DPoS. And so our history dates a long way back. And so we supported pretty much everything he did since then. to the point where we tried coding our own proprietary BitShares wallets when the first ones were in their infancy and they were very kind of crude, because we thought we could do it better. Of course, history usually proves you wrong if you're just some two dudes that think you can take on a huge community. But nevertheless, we grew up on this DPoS concept, and we think it's probably one of the most fascinating beasts to come out of this ecosystem. So that's my story. Kuba's overlapping probably in many points, but I think I'll just hand it over to you.
Yeah. So first of all, I need to tell you that Tokenika it's a larger group of people. It's more than 10 people. So we are just right now. You are just representing a bigger group of people. So my background is So before Tokenika, I was doing a little bit of machine learning and trying to invent a machine that could earn money on forex foreign exchange.
Foreign exchange, yeah.
Yes. And before that, I was working for IT. I lived in London for 3 years. And before that, I worked for banking, for Citibank in Warsaw. So my background, I was always between business and technology. So I was just trying to bridge those two things. Yeah, and as Marcin said, I was always impressed with Bytemaster or Dan Larimer, but I was always aware of his deficiencies, so it was always a mixed bag for me. But overall, I really appreciate his talent and his vision. So for me I was following him since BitShares, as Marcin mentioned. So it's a long journey for me, but it was quite successful because thanks to Dan Larimer, I learned about Steam pretty early, and this gave me a lot of leverage in financial terms. And then I was quite early familiar with EOS, so I could. So this is actually how Tokenika was founded. I was looking for people who had some capital, but who could help me with utilizing the knowledge about DPoS systems and about EOS, and this is how Tokenika was founded.
Yeah, so essentially it's like Kuba mentioned, it's a group. The team is about a dozen strong.
Yeah.
So we come from all walks of life. It's mostly coding, trading, legal backgrounds, analytical, statistical. So there's actually it's a bit of a melting pot. So we like to think of ourselves as a kind of a think tank for DPoS and for EOS in particular, because that is the sort of the brightest star on the scene, as we feel. And so basically that's the background. We're also like self-funded, and so we're not exactly reliant or strapped for cash. And it's also a comfortable space to be in, because you can actually experiment with some concepts and not worry so much that if someone pulls the plug, you will just go home and leave. So
yeah, and I would add that two of our founders are actually running real life businesses and large scale businesses. So they know how to run a large scale business, like employing like hundreds of people. So those are quite successful businessmen already. Not us, not me and Marcin, but the other founders. So we have.
I think we're pretty successful now.
Yeah, yeah, but I never ran like a factory producing something and employing hundreds of people. So those people are quite experienced.
So you guys are running for Block Producer?
Yes.
Yeah. So currently, this is like Tokenika's main effort is to actually secure the Block Producer status. And we like to think of this as something that we just like to do and get on with it and actually start building the EOS ecosystem. It's not so much that this is some, like holy grail, and after that we're the winners or whatever, but it'll just give us a lot of leverage to do what we are already doing. And we have already been doing this for many months, using whatever means we have. But actually becoming a witness node and being very aware of the technicalities and everything that this actually implies on you, it gives you a different status. Also, the way you are connected within the community and the way you can interact. So we're looking at this from a very sort of a utilitarian perspective. It's not so much, trying to win some beauty competition or the other. It's more like actually just trying to scale what we already have been doing. So we have a track record, like a provable history of supporting EOS and also Steemit before that.
What are some examples of those projects that you're speaking about?
Yeah, so I think Kuba can...
Yeah, I will explain. So maybe I will just add one thing, that it was not an easy decision for us to think about being a witness. It took us a bit of time. It was like in August last year. So there's some gravity about this decision, because we were aware that it's not an easy job. It's a big enterprise, especially when we talked to our friend who runs a Steam node. So we knew that it's going to be quite challenging. So about what we do, I think we do several things. Maybe it's even too much, but I will explain three major things, and then Marcin will add more. So first of all, we are doing some internal tools for the community, and currently we are running 3 projects, and you're probably familiar with EOS projects. This is something similar to EOS Index, so it's a listing of all projects and tools and initiatives that are happening in the emerging EOS ecosystem. And it's a sister project of Steam projects, which is quite successful. So right now we're a little bit in the shadow of EOS Index, which started before us, but hopefully we'll catch up with and competition is good for us. And then we have something called EOS Factory, which is going to be a development environment. We're inspired by the Truffle framework in Ethereum. So we figured out that EOS will need something similar, as the Truffle framework is very useful for Ethereum development. So we want to create something similar. So it's for testing and deploying EOS smart contracts, and it will be made. Actually, it's already made in Python. The interface is made in Python, so it will be very easy to document and play with EOS contracts using Python. And also, maybe this is our specialty. We want to make it universal across all platforms. So we're quite open for Windows developers. They will be able to access and play with EOS Node on Windows, which is not trivial. And finally, we have this EOS Probe project, which is going to be an advanced block explorer with presenting all aggregations and statistics. And this will be used not only for tracking transactions, but also for monitoring witnesses, how efficient they are. And as far as external tools are concerned, and maybe external applications, like things which are targeted to wider public, we are doing something called Signet, which is going to be about digital identity. Basically, we want to utilize banks as a source of digital identity. So right now, we are not prepared to review much more, but we want to actually make digital identity quite easy to create, utilizing our identity with existing identity with banks. And the third thing that we've done quite a few public presentations like meetups here in Poland, in various cities, and also one time we went even to Norway. We presented in Oslo. It was quite successful. So we're getting better and better with this. And it's not easy to talk about EOS because it's quite complex, but I think each presentation is getting better. So we're making progress. And actually on Thursday, I'll be making another presentation here in Poland. Yeah, so I think Marcin.
Yeah, so in addition to what Kuba just said, which is more technical, we actually also offer blockchain consulting and support for external businesses that are looking for advice. And we sort of naturally point them towards what we think is the best solution, which is EOS in this case. So we will sometimes even talk to government agencies and have them sort of discover this technology for themselves. They like to usually be in charge, so you have to play this wisely. If someone from the government rocks up and says, okay, like I want to do this and that, and you usually will hash out like 3 or 4 solutions for them, and then you say, and then there is EOS, which is like lightning fast and super cheap to use. It's actually free. You don't have, it has no transaction fees, and it doesn't clog up, and but it's up to you to decide. And they'll scratch their heads and go, well, why don't you go with EOS? And yeah, exactly. We would, if we were you, we would go with EOS. So these conversations sometimes are funny. But yeah, apart from that, we're actually running the testnet node right now, which from our latest observations is doing really well. Actually, it's one of the few that are live and producing blocks. I don't know how often the state changes on the screen because we don't keep staring at it all the time. So maybe it was just a good day today, but we were actually one of the 2 nodes that were still alive in the test net. Only 2 players on the court. And this is also largely due to the fact that we have this experience with setting up the infrastructure for DPoS for Graphene. And this is thanks to our affiliation with one of the very best Steemit node admins, which is an advisor in our company, and he's setting this infrastructure up for us, and also passing on whatever we need to know to run it. So this is basically the arrangement. He's not technically part of the company, but we have him whenever we need him, and so this is. And it pays off. We can already see that this is actually, the server setup is very robust and it can take on a lot. And so we'll be able to scale rapidly if necessary, like by order of magnitude, basically overnight, which is something that I think is extremely rare in this DPoS community, because like very often when you look at the track record of other witness candidates, they don't particularly have one. There's a few posts here and there on Steemit or whatever, but it looks like a kind of a trial and error experiment that maybe it will work. Like this definitely separates us from them. We just know how to do this. We're not guessing, we're not hoping. And of course, they may be glitches because you never can tell. So we don't want to get too cocky. This is a humble space, and it can prove you wrong often, as we've seen like giants falter, even the biggest names. But I think we're still up there somewhere, probably in the top 5 of the most qualified people to actually do this. So that's that. We're also scalable when it comes to the workforce needed. So if this goes well, we can actually expand the team also by an order of magnitude and start developing things much faster if the means allow. And there are some very interesting collaborations that we're talking about right now, with one of which I think is especially worth mentioning is this company called Parsec, which is into massive multiplayer online gaming. And so what they're trying to launch is a game that actually runs on a blockchain and has an entire payment system on a blockchain, and uses smart contracts, but it's a virtual world smart contract. So it's also a cool testing ground, because if things go wrong in the virtual smart contract, which deals with virtual cash in virtual space, it's probably not as sort of demeaning and as it gets when you lose real people's money and they're after you.
Yeah, but actually, I think that this is an interesting case, because I slightly disagree with Martin, because those tokens in this game will have true value. So it's an experiment to connect virtual world to smart contracts. So all other companies are trying to connect the actual reality to smart contracts, but those guys are trying to create a virtual game and connect a massive virtual game and connect this to the blockchain. So they're approaching the smart contracts from the other side. So it's quite interesting case for us, because if this game is successful, it will be very popular, and if it's popular, there will be like real value involved. So those smart contracts will be protecting real value in virtual game, but it will be like real value. So it's not playing with some tokens, but it's playing with actual value.
Yeah. So the next thing is like worth mentioning. We're in touch with these Australians that are actually they want to put gold trading on a blockchain, and they're already regulated, so they're allowed to do this. It's not some again a garage operation of some con man, but it's an actual business that is doing well. And so we're talking about that also, and putting that on the EOS blockchain. And another project that has just emerged, this is something involving peer-to-peer electricity exchange, and this would be happening in UK. So this is very early days for the talks about this, but we might actually engage also with that. And so if this entire witness project actually goes well, it will open up all these doors like wide.
Just for some of the viewers who don't know, but Witness is actually the name for block producer in the Steam network.
Oh yeah, that's interchangeably used, so it's somewhat confusing. Yeah, but you're right, absolutely. Yeah. And we're also aware of this sort of a utilitarian role of the block producer. So we are also toying with this idea that if the surplus of incoming cash flow is substantial from being a witness, and it does not justify that from a business standpoint for you to hold on to all this cash, there's a few ideas we have as to how to redistribute it back into the community, but not in this sort of a dumb way as, you vote for us and we pay you back, because this isn't generating any real value. It's also frowned upon in the community, and the Constitution actually is probably going to forbid that, even like if it's difficult to enforce it, but it's not the thing to do. But we have at least like several ideas on how to redistribute this income in a value-added way. So one would be to actually fund startups that are the most promising, and have this done in a transparent manner, where we would actually put on the blockchain the very financing process for these startups that we would then somehow manage. We would probably sift through initially, because then we have to work with these people. So you don't want to get some randoms on board, and then just because they had a nice website, it got voted in, and then you don't know how to get rid of them. I can imagine a situation like this. But still, I think it would be a very nice thing to do for the community, because you're building the EOS value through this kind of a think tank and curation and development of software initiative. So this is one of the things we were thinking about. Another would be perhaps starting a coding academy for EOS, because I think there is going to be a massive shortage of developers, and to the it's already a big issue in blockchain that is probably like 10 openings for a single candidate that you can just go and grab. So it might turn out that it's extremely difficult to get anything done because people just come and go. But if you raise your own sort of like army of coders, then this is also a very, very cool thing to do. And everybody's a winner in this game also, which is something that we like to promote this idea, you know, that not just to take things for yourself and run, but make everyone benefit.
Yeah. Marcin, Jakob, as we come near to the end of the interview, we would like to talk about when and where, like what you guys have coming up next. Do you guys have something coming up next? And also, where can we find out more about you? Do you have a website or Twitter account, something like that?
Yeah, so we're active on Steam, where we have a long history. There's some educational posts. Also, some of them are fairly technical about how to compile EOS on Windows and things like that. So it's a little bit nerdy, but very useful. Some of it is very just pragmatical and philosophical almost. Also, Kuba has a long history on Steam before we even got together, which is very good reads from this territory. And in the pipeline right now, I think what we're definitely working on is this educational mission that we're on. So we'll be organizing a lot of meetups and trying to speak at as many conferences as possible. I'm doing a lot of business development work in the field, but this is some probably internal stuff we shouldn't talk about here. Probably.
And I would just add that we'll be releasing 2 of those tools, because EOS projects is already released, but EOS Factory and EOS Probe will be released before June, hopefully.
Excellent.
We'll be
nice
releasing those 2 tools, at least in the initial phase. Not finished products, but there'll be something to show.
It's been a pleasure, guys. This is a great interview. I think you guys bring a lot to the space. What do you think, Kev?
Reminds me of what you said you said this about a week or so ago. You said, I really like those Tokenika guys because they kind of just keep their heads down and they're software devs. They work hard on their projects and we never hear much from them, but they're very serious about what they do. And
actually, I think we're so busy that we don't have the time to communicate properly, but we need to improve on this, definitely.
But it's really good to hear from you guys and just meet you guys because, I mean, you're very serious players and you'll do a great job for the ecosystem. So it's awesome to talk to you guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah. It's very kind of you.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. And we look forward to hearing more from you guys soon.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks very much. Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Good night. Good night.
Bye.
Wow. That was neat. I mean, it's one of the first interviews we've done where we didn't really have to ask any questions. They had so much to talk about in terms of what they've done. I mean, all the projects they've done in the background and everything else.
And you did remember what I said. I was like, yeah, those guys are, they have that, when you talk to them, that you just can feel that experience that they have, and they're very experienced in many different things, it sounds like. So.
And they brought in more experience to help them too. It sounds like from the business development side, they brought in some extra help, and they're a team of 12, which is pretty awesome. So. Yeah,
they're sleepers. They're sleepers.
Sleepers. Let's see. We have EOS Asia coming up, I believe next. Yeah, EOS Asia. They're a new block producer candidate coming out from Asia. What do you know about them there, Bluejays?
I do know that we've had Joe, who's part of EOS Asia, as part of one of the interviews that we did very early on. I think it was maybe our 3rd interview or something like that. At the time, he was part with EOS Gravity, and I believe he's spun off his own initiative right at the moment now. And he's got his partner, Dafeng. Hi, Dafeng.
Hello.
Hey, guys.
Cool.
And there he is, and there's Joe.
Hi, nice to see you.
I like your T-shirt, Joe.
Oh,
thank you. Yes,
I'm wearing the same T-shirt.
Oh, man, look at you guys.
Wow. You guys are legitimate. Still wearing this old school thing here. You guys both went to the Hong Kong meetup, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's probably where you got those shirts. How was that meetup? We'd love to hear some more.
Oh, it's really awesome. We got to meet a lot of people who are working on EOS and dApp developers as well. And I thought, it sounds like a meetup. When you say meetup, it's like a small thing, but there's like 400 people or something. Crazy number of people.
Blockbuster event, we should call it, probably.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey guys.
I mean, a lot of people around this area are looking forward to the launch of EOS, so that event was quite significant for them to attend.
Hey guys, so welcome to the show, and also, would you guys mind giving us an introduction about who you are and tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. So we'll do a quick introduction about EOS Asia first. So we call ourselves the Avengers of the EOS community. EOS Asia has an all-star international team that brings together talents from China, Europe, United States, and South Korea. We are also a very technical team. Our core technical members are backed by Silicon Valley incubator, Y Combinator, and have built applications that are used by tens of millions of users. So our team is a little bit distributed. So today it will just be me and Joe taking the call today. A little bit of background about me and Joe. My name is Dafeng. I'm the co-founder of EOS Asia. I also co-founded Strikingly.com, which is one of the largest website publishing platform out there. We have more than 2 million users who have used Strikingly to publish websites. And it's also the company that's backed by Y Combinator. And I personally have been started coding since I was 14 years old. And during college, I created 3 Facebook apps that have 20 million users. So I have quite a bit of experience running, distributed high transaction systems. Joe, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Joseph, and also co-founder of EOS Asia. Many people already know me from the EOS community around the world. I handled in the past the advertisement company in China over the last few years, and I work with big companies like Tencent. I founded EOS Link mainly to help Chinese BPs to communicate with Western BPs and arrange their block production operations. While at the same time, I helped EOS Go, to develop a way to organize all the information related to block producers by creating the EOS Go portal, right? For me, actually, it's important that an organization like yours, EOS Go, exists, because it's where all the beginners will come to find each other and learn more about EOS, right? And I think every BP should find a way to contribute to EOS Go in the future as well. And actually, me and Dafeng are friends from a while. And once we noticed our shared, really deep interest in EOS and similar values, we decided to get in together and bring something that other BPs hardly can do. And yeah, that's our story, basically.
And you mentioned you guys are the Avengers of EOS. We just really want to know who's Iron Man and who's Hulk, and the rest of the characters.
We still have to define that.
Yeah, you have to find out on our website. We have the full roster of the Avengers.
It sounds like there's no Captain America on EOS Asia.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Oh, there's Tyler. Tyler is from America. He's working out from New York.
You guys probably have the most beautiful website of anyone I've seen. I mean, it's got this rotating chestahedron, and as you scroll down, it moves around. It's really fun to play with, actually. And Joe, of course, for the Block Producer portal. So we were thanking Joe last week as well. But Joe, you met on episode 3 with EOS Gravity, but he also helped us put together that portal to help organize the Block Producers, and that's of course phenomenal. Everybody loves that. So thanks, Joe. And yeah, and can you guys talk more about, so you have some projects coming up as well, some new projects that you're working on?
Yeah. So I think EOS Asia is founded to trying to achieve kind of like three top things. And, one of the things is we want to create as well as fund dApps that we want to take EOS to mainstream. And that's kind of like taking the blockchain technology to the mainstream as well. So one of the things that differentiate us from the other people is we kind of create dApps ourselves as well. We have the technical ability to do that. So we're currently working on two dApps. The first one is called EOSGems.io. So you can go and check it out. Now, the inspiration actually came in from when we were building the EOS Asia site, as you were saying just now, this huge rotating 3D tetrahedron, which is the EOS logo shape. And it moves while, when you move your mouse around, it just kind of follow you. So it was really fun for us to build the website and to play with it. After we built it, we could sit on it for a whole day, just play with it. So if you haven't checked out our site, anybody who's out there, I highly recommend you to check it out. It's EOSAsia.1. So, after we built the site, we thought, why don't we just give every EOS lover a chance to, own a gem like this? So, the gems will come in different shapes and color. They will have different properties. And they can be mined or fused to create new gems. And these new gems will have totally new characteristic as well. So you can also, trade. You can also gift the gem. And most importantly, every gem will have a very nice showcase. So you can showcase, your gem to the world. And it's a 3D one. You can let your viewers play with it.
Is it a website that it's the interface?
Yes, the website will be the interface, and we thought that would be really fun to just have every EOS lover you should really own a gem like that, and it's unique, it's different. So that is the first step that we're working on. We're also providing technical consultation to another dApp project. It's called TXT. It stands for Traffic Exchange Token. The website is at txtnet.io. It's the first EOS-based advertising protocol that pays the viewers. So, as a viewer, once you have the TXT browser plugin installed, viewers will only see advertisements that will give them reward. Any other advertisement will be blocked. So it acts as an ad block, and only the advertisement that will pay the users will get seen. And the amount of TXT the viewers made, it can be used to purchase premium contents or to tip the websites. So, if I really enjoy watching some of the YouTube channels, I can tip the channel owner with some TXT. I can also buy ads to place on other websites using TXT. So, one thing that's very innovative about TXT is it prevents the user privacy from leaking, because there will be no user privacy information stored anywhere. I think this is something that a lot of people pay attention to nowadays after the Facebook privacy scandal. All the user privacy will only be stored locally, and the user can tweak it. The user can remove it anytime. What exactly is being sent and can be changed anytime. So we think that TXT team has something that's really revolutionary here, and we want to work with the team in terms of EOS technical consultation. So those are the kind of like two dApp projects that we'll build. There's also things that we want to do to teach other developers to create EOS dApps. So we're not only going to create it ourselves, but we're going to also share how we create the dApps ourselves to the other people. And our team has previously done a lot of tech sharing. It's something that we have quite a bit of experience. So we have done major tech conferences such as QCon, RubyConf, JSConf, and AWS Summit. So it is something that we want to. So we'll be creating like tutorials to help others to teach others to create dApps. So we're thinking actually doing a tutorial on how we build EOS Gem step by step. So people can follow us and see how EOS Gems come to life. So Joe, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, the academy, like you were mentioning about the academy, right? So yeah. I just heard before the interview of Tokenika, and they had just exactly the same idea. So what we plan to do with the academy is teaching people how to develop apps with EOS, right?
Yeah.
In this way, we're actually, like they said, like they mentioned, we're creating our own army, and just making the EOS ecosystem stronger with good apps developers.
Yeah. Another thing that we are already doing is we'll be hosting hackathons with one of the biggest developer communities in China, Segment Fault. It's their site, and they have more than I think 250,000 developers in China. It's one of the largest developers community in China. We're planning to host 4 different hackathons in 4 different cities around Asia, starting in the mid of May. And the information is actually already on our website. So yeah, really the first major goal of EOS Asia is to really do everything we can to create and teach and fund dApps that will take EOS mainstream, and thus taking blockchain, this technology as a whole, mainstream, so that I think my parents or friends around me can actually use the technology and not just a group of hackers.
Yeah, I think that's very crucial. Yeah, that's amazing. I think making your own army, or making EOS an army of developers everywhere.
Yeah.
Sorry, Keva, you were about to say something?
Yeah, I mean, I was about to say the same thing, just about it. Education is, of course, key in terms of helping everybody, grandmas and moms and everybody, understand what EOS is. It's very hard to explain. And things like a gem, those kind of little dApps, they'll just draw people in. People start to interact with the blockchain. They understand how it works a little better. And that's
completely. And actually, that is something me and Joe completely agree on. We're both very, like, Joe and I met through a mutual friend. And we're both like the biggest EOS fans around that person. So she decided to connect us both. And when we met each other, we immediately bonded very well together. We both share the passion for EOS and want to make EOS community better. We're very passionate about EOS because we believe in order to make blockchain technology mainstream that everybody can use, EOS platform really need to have like killer dApps that have widespread adoption. So, that is if we want to make blockchain technology, not just the technology that geeks use, but also something that everyday man can use, we need to achieve it through dApps. And EOS is really the only platform at the moment that we see this possibility. So we kind of just feel very passionate about it and join force to form EOS Asia.
I have an interesting question. It just popped into my mind. What is the blockchain version of EOS Gems look like instead of a counterpart version of it on a traditional architecture, like a front end and a database back end? What is the difference?
Right. So I think the difference is I think this difference is also explained by CryptoKitty founder as well as Vitalik before. I don't know if any of the audience is familiar with the reason why Vitalik created Ethereum. Was he was playing World of Warcraft, and one of the characters that he really liked significantly got reduced. Blizzard decided that that character doesn't need to have that much power anymore. That character can't do this anymore. And he was frustrated because that was the only character that he played well. And he thought, if there will be a game that is more maintained by the community, and that if I have this thing, it will always be there. And so I think the same thing with Gem. Like, I think if anybody owns the EOS Gems, it should be theirs forever.
Or immutability, yeah.
Immutability is very, very important. It's a contract between the gamer and the game. And if the game decided to break the contract, the gamers lose trust in this game. And I think with Gem and with like CryptoKitty, one big thing is immutability. Another big thing is this thing becomes an asset, right? If a gem is really rare and it's proven to be rare because the math behind is there, it's in the contract and nobody can change it. When the moment you get this rare gem, you own it forever, and this rarity is guaranteed by the math behind. So that thing will have additional value.
Are you mathematically going to restrict the supply of these gems?
We are going to restrict the number of gems that can come out in a given period of time. Frankly, we're bringing in people who have a lot of gaming experience than me and than us building it. We have a advisor who has built a 60 million downloads of mobile game, and he's trying to. He looked at a lot of the blockchain games at the moment, and he thinks that it's not fun enough. So he wanted to help make EOS Gem even more fun to play with.
Awesome. And that's what a lot of folks are. Some folks do not understand that this is just sort of the first iteration on future games on blockchain. We need to start somewhere. And with CryptoKitties and gems and so on, just the start, right? Just an idea that get crypto economics, get that, understand that better, and so on. So
yes, and really to get the mainstream people to talk about it, to understand how it will affect their lives, right? I think through dApps is the only way that we can get mainstream. So yeah, I think dApps is definitely one thing that one of the biggest goals that we want to do. The second, goal for EOS Asia is we want to dedicate our technical strength to maintain a highly available and robust network for the EOS community. So we have extensive experience running like multi-region, high available disaster recovering applications that's used by tens of millions of people. And I think these are the real technical challenges that the BPs will face when the EOS mainnet goes live. EOS is right now at the center of attention for the blockchain world, and the stake is actually quite high here. There will be malicious actors trying to launch all kinds of technical attacks, like DDoS to the system for their benefit. And if BPs fail to address and recover from these attacks, people will lose faith in the technology, and no dApp developer will want to build on a platform that constantly fail because of BPs weren't able to do their job. So I think we collectively as VPCs actually have huge stake on our shoulder to maintain a highly available network for the EOS ecosystem. And I felt like right now a lot of the VPCs are not paying enough attention to the technical challenges of running VPs. And they're doing like PR marketing and trying to get people to vote for them, but they're not prioritizing the most fundamental thing, which is, do they have the right technical people to run the VP node? And this problem is frankly particularly problematic in Asia region, in my opinion. So quite a few of them got listed on EOS Go, but never really participated in the testnet. Some participated and never really maintained or stay updated. And we're time is running out. We're only 1 month and less than 10 days away from mainnet launch. So Joe and I are quite anxious about the current situation right now. We've also seen some, very, very technically savvy VPCs releasing technical details, trying to help each other to navigate this. I
actually want to list some of the candidates that I found being really helpful to the BP community right now. For example, I think, first of all, I can say that EOS Sweden, organized by Eric, is doing really a great job educating and organizing most of the BP community. while at the same time is leading with his technical knowledge in the area. EOS 42 London, they have similar values to ours and focus deeply on the technical importance that running as BP brings. But at the same time, they also want to offer more options to the token holders through that development. EOS Canada, it's another great candidate. They are trying their best to make the BIOS process as seamless as possible. And EOS New York, not only they're educating token holders, but they're also giving a good point of view to BPs on how the network should be run. And I think it's important also to see these BPs as point of, as a point of, the main point, when you search for a good candidate, you have to see the main good BPs in order to see what you should do in the future, right?
They set the standard.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
As a standard.
Very good standard.
I think these BPs can reflect also our values.
Very good.
Yeah.
Guys,
and,
sure, go ahead.
So yeah, we want to give a shout out to them, to thank them for contributing and helping the community. And EOS Asia really want to help the BPCs like them to polish up the technical plans and contribute our technical experience here to help the community as a whole to have really high technical standard. And we think that's the fundamental of running a BP node. And we also actually help translate those materials to the Asian BPCs to make sure that as a global community, we have a more robust network to withstand all kinds of malicious attacks. So Joe has previously helped multiple BPCs in China to configure their setup. So given our experience and our international team, we want to help bridge this technical gap here.
Yeah, and you guys are right. There's only 6 weeks, less than that away. So
yeah, so we treat this problem very, very seriously.
At this point, Joe has the equivalent of years of experience now, if he's been out for a few
crypto years. Yeah.
So in blockchain time, that's how that works. And also, we've seen this question a couple times now from Katie. She's wondering about what you guys think of the Bitfinex announcement that just came out. It's new news, but what are your thoughts?
It's great. It's great. I just saw it. Joe sent it to me. I think it's great. I think it's very important to have players who have extensive experience running large-scale applications. So, EOS Asia do have that kind of experience with the people we have. And it's important that there will be more people like them because once the mainnet goes live, the challenges there are real, are serious. So you need to have that kind of experience under your belt to take care of them. And we want to have as many of those kind of candidates out there to make sure that the EOS community as a whole has the robustness to withstand those attacks. And EOS Asia also want to help BPCs who have solid technical plan, get them translated, get them widespread as possible, help each BPCs around the world if they need any technical support.
Awesome. Yeah, I agree. Nice. Hey guys, moving on here. What do you guys have upcoming, and how can people get a hold of you?
So you can always follow us on our Steemit and our website, and we have just actually been public for just 1 week, and we have already gotten quite a bit of attention. And for us, you can always reach out to us from our email, from our Steemit, and from our Twitter. Any questions around the dApps that we're creating, any questions around the technical and cultural gap between the Asian community and the international community that we can help, we want to spend as much time as possible to bridge that gap.
That's great. I mean, I'm gonna be seeing you guys this weekend. I'm gonna see the Avengers in the movies this weekend, so I'm sure I'll see Joe and yourself on the screen there.
Yeah,
Good for me.
make sure to check out the Iron Man.
Oh, I figured you were Iron Man.
Joe is Hulk, I'm sure.
He's silent, strong, silent type, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, guys, for coming on. It's really great meeting you. And,
Thank you so much.
Really great meeting you guys.
Happy
Thank
talking.
you.
Thanks.
Thank you,
All
too.
right. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. You're going, huh? You did a midnight showing for you, huh?
Yeah, me and my friend are gonna go see. We're all gonna go out and see Avengers this weekend. How about you? Are you gonna check that one out?
I think I probably will have to, yeah, just to make sure I keep up with these block producer candidates. It's hard enough as it is, just trying to keep track of who's who. So I'm glad that
we just need to check our brain at the door and watch the movies on the block producer candidates, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Who we got next?
I believe, is it Dublin coming up? EOS Dublin?
Oh, these guys, Dublin. I hope they bring a Guinness.
I know, right? Yeah, they haven't invented a way to send Guinness through the internet yet, have they?
No, but blockchain technology, man. One day.
Everything's possible with blockchain. So yeah, if it can't be done, then blockchain will make it possible, as we all know. So
that's right. Yeah, don't want to overhype it, but you guys have to. We've set the standard pretty high. We need to get a Guinness through the internet. Can blockchain do that?
And we have the answer coming right up here.
Yeah.
With, Sharif and Sam, welcome, guys. Thank you for coming on. If you can hear me, hey there.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you sound great. Thank you guys for coming on.
Great to meet you, Kevin.
Yeah, great to meet you
hello
too.
Again, Bluejays.
Hello.
We were just talking about Guinness, as you might have heard.
Yeah, it's making me thirsty, but it's 1 a.m. here, so I think it's maybe a little bit too late to get on the Guinness.
Oh, geez. Sorry about that, guys. Well, thanks for staying up late. We're glad to have you guys on. Just wanted to get a little bit to know about you guys. Our format is who, what, why, when, and where. And Sharif, I don't know if you can hear us or we can hear you. I didn't. Can you try? Are you able to hear us?
Still there?
Yeah. I don't know if he's able to hear us. Anyhow, Sam, why don't you give a little background and information about yourself?
Sure thing.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, Sam, you go ahead.
Yeah, we can get you now. Me, I'm the tech guy in EOS Dublin. So, I think most of the people who've been on it, I've been programming from a very early age. I think I picked up my father's Oric 1 when I was 8 years old and never looked back from there, and stayed in the tech route the whole way. So grew up as a programmer, and then the natural progression through into more of the architecture and building out systems. Working mostly in startups. So in 15 years that I've been working in the industry, it's been mostly startups with some smatterings of big corporations. So lots of variation, and seen a lot of stuff through e-commerce, e-health, fintech, all kinds of very interesting things. So now it's time to get deep into blockchain.
Oh, very good. Thanks, Sam. Sharif, how about yourself?
Yeah, I suppose a bit of background, about 20 years in IT experience, mainly delivering large enterprise-grade projects. Had an interest in blockchain for the last couple of years, but have really been interested in, business applications of the technology. Got interested in EOS towards the end of last year and started looking around for a local Irish community, and there wasn't one, so I had to start it. And that's it. So we started EOS Dublin at the start of the year, have had 2 meetups so far, have a small but growing community, lots of people getting engaged with us, tuned in, and it's exciting times.
Awesome. So you guys are running for Block Producer, and can you let us know a little bit about EOS Dublin, your team, and also what you guys are up to?
Yeah, so we're a small independent team. I suppose when I started looking at the EOS project and the delegated proof of stake, and the 21 block producers, the one thing that was kind of glaringly obvious to me was the need for geographic and political diversification among block producers. It's no coincidence that all of the major tech companies are based in Ireland for the European headquarters. It's a great place to do business. It's a great place to live. It's a great place to raise a family. And I just think it's a natural location to have a block producer and offer, that resilience that an independent node can offer the network and the community as a whole. So it was kind of a no-brainer to start it. Reached out to Sam. I know he's a technical guy, and he jumped at the chance. And we've been, active in the community, answering as much as we can, creating as much value as we can, adding, to every telegram that we can, jump into. It's been exciting so far.
Awesome. So are you guys on the telegrams? Do you guys have a Steam page? Anywhere we can find some more information about you guys?
Yeah, we're pretty much everywhere that we need to be. Anybody's looking for information, the best place to go is eosdublin.com. Our marketing team, Isaac and Jessica, did a great job of getting the website up for today. So thanks very much for that. And from there's links to, we're on Steemit, we're on Medium, we're on Twitter, we're on, all of the major Telegram channels, just trying to contribute and trying to give an input and trying to give a different perspective on all the, multitude of topics that are going on, whether it's, arbitration or worker proposals or, Sam's reaching out to a lot of the more technical, resilient type questions. We're in there trying to help out.
Yeah, and I think one of my favorite comments I've ever seen on Steemit was you were responding to someone on one of your posts. I think it was your introduction post, and someone said, you should come over to this blockchain. You said, no, we're happy on EOS. Thanks. But I'm not sure why they were asking you to go over to the other blockchain, but anyway. So can you tell us more about, so what inspires you guys? Why are you running for Block Producer, and what kind of community projects do you have coming up?
So I guess the main motivation to run for Block Producer is, Ireland needs to be part of this project. We need to have an ecosystem here in Ireland to, nurture new developers coming in, to start building great enterprise-grade applications on top of EOS, and start to deliver value for the network as a whole. Somebody needs to do it. So, we're here, we're doing it. We've got an open invitation if anybody wants to join our team. We're easy to contact. We're easy to get along with. We're adding people all of the time. At the moment, there's 4 of us. I think by next week we'll be 6. And we're literally just growing, and every day it's just getting more and more exciting.
And I think to add to that as well, I mean, it's, as Sharif says, it's amazing, the ecosystem and the community here to be a part of this. It's every day is a new challenge and a new surprise, and I think that really motivates us to carry on as well, being able to contribute into something as groundbreaking as this. And then you have all of the other fun stuff. I mean, this is a hugely scalable platform. We're dealing with high throughputs, large amounts of data flying around. We have the infrastructure side of things. We need to keep it reliable. We need to keep it highly available. And, these are the kind of things that make me excited. So this morning, 19 hours ago now, when I was awake at 6, the first thing I do is I'm on Telegram. And already since, the few hours I've been asleep, there's another 7,000 messages to try and read through and try and pick a few of them. And that's it. You're straight into it. So I actually mentioned to Sharif earlier, what? It's 8 p.m. What happened? 5 minutes ago, it was 6 a.m. and now it's 8 p.m. So we're really getting caught up in it all.
Yeah. So you guys are in Dublin, and what do you see if we look forward about a year or so, 2 years even? What excites you about blockchain? What's for you? What do you guys see yourselves doing with EOS, and what do you see EOS in particular looking like?
So to me, I mean, the next stage is we've probably a couple of steps to go before mass adoption, but the next stage is mainstream. We need to start, adding value on top of this great operating system that's been developed. The users of these apps won't know that this is a blockchain that they're on all they'll know is that, the app works a little bit better, or they're getting rewarded for using it, or it's more trustworthy, or they're able to have transactions, processing a lot quicker and confirmed and safe and like, and that just gives us, that gives us the platform to really start building out, enterprise grade applications, stuff that can really change the world. So, I don't predict the future, but it's looking bright. But in saying that, it's not going to happen on its own. Everybody has to, as they are, bring their A game every day, come up with great ideas. What I said to our team is, look, any ideas that we have, let's open source our ideas for the next couple of months and just throw them out there. If people want to join us and build projects, great. If they want to take our ideas and pivot and do something else, great. It's just, we need to just create as much value as possible for the network as a whole. And that's kind of what I see.
That's awesome. Yeah. And you as well, Sam, where do you see the blockchain going in terms of what excites you about blockchain? What is your passion project, I guess?
So I guess similar to the theme that Sharif picked up there is going more mainstream. So, I've been following blockchain in general since I was sitting in Norway in 2011, 2012. I was working out there, and suddenly all of the guys had switched over from folding at home to this new thing called Bitcoin. Like, what the hell are you doing? You're using all of this power to mine these coins so you can buy a pizza. Like, I don't get it. But, that was when the interest sparked, and it kind of stayed very quiet for a long time. Okay, there was the kind of underground community where everyone was getting into it, but you could see it grow and grow and grow. But now over the last year, more so than I'd say over the last 2 years, we're feeling that kind of wave rising, and the snowball is getting bigger as it's flying down the hill, and we're kind of witnessing that. We're watching it. We're a part of it. We're standing there and seeing it and experiencing it happening. And for me, that's one of the most exciting things, because I think there's so much momentum behind it that it's just going to keep going. And we're all fueling this and pushing it on. And in a year's time, who knows where it's going to be in comparison to a year ago. I think we're going to see a much bigger expansion. So that's very exciting, trying to figure out where this is going to be. And like Sharif says, I think a lot of people won't even know that it's there. They won't care about it. Maybe there'll be some marketing around it, but it'll just be into everything. And I think that's super exciting.
I think that, like Sharif mentioned earlier, the distinction between a blockchain app and a non-blockchain app is an education effort. And not only that, it has to provide more value as well too, and enjoyment and fun. So it's an interesting dilemma that we have ahead of us.
And I guess it's no different to cloud. When the cloud came out and everyone's talking about the cloud, it's one of those things where people don't understand it. And, a lot of people I speak to, I still don't think they understand what the cloud is. But it's there. It's most of the applications now are running on cloud platforms. There's a bit of a kind of anti-movement, I guess, or a movement against some of the cloud providers these days. But it's, I would say, very similar paradigm to that.
My father and I have this running joke about the cloud. He just doesn't understand it. And it's just, it's off in the cloud. Yeah, it's off in the cloud. And I think it's just going to be one of those things, the blockchain. So, yeah, it's interesting how we can all explain that to our parents and such.
It's one of the things I think about all the time. I know everybody's using the term dApps, but, I'd like to campaign to drop that D. I mean, they're apps. Everybody knows what an app is. The apps will appear in the App Store. People will just use them. They'll just be better. I don't think we need to be, distinguishing what we're building on top. We're building applications for people to use.
Good point.
And that's what it is.
Yeah, that was great. Well put.
Oh, thanks, guys. So is there any next steps for you guys? Like, what's on the horizon? And also, where can we... I know you guys mentioned your contact information earlier, but if there's something specific that you want us, the viewers, to be pointed towards, just let us know.
Yeah, so EOSDublin.com, you can connect with myself and Sam there. It's Sharif at EOSDublin.com or Sam at EOSDublin.com. in terms of meetups, next Tuesday we're going to be at the EOS London meetup. So we're going to be presenting ourselves there. Really looking forward to that. May 8th, we've got our next Dublin meetup. So, the membership numbers are going up and to the right. We had 5 at the first one, 12 at the second. I'm expecting some more. I'm expecting some more at that one. And then, we're going to have to plan a launch party in June. Make sure that, Dublin is well represented.
And you guys will be in London for the launch party, you think?
No, we're going to be in Dublin.
Oh, you're going to throw the bash in Dublin. Oh, nice. Okay.
Yes.
And you're renting out the whole Guinness brewery, right?
You guys are invited.
We might need to.
Well, Bluejays and I share a shared love for Guinness. So if you happen to rent that out, we may just happen to show up.
Yeah.
So guys, you just got to come over. Let us know when you come.
We're going to be there, man.
We'll show you around. Yeah. It's the perfect location. It's kind of in the middle of Asian time zone, US time zone. Ireland, we're at the heart of it.
Excellent.
Let's have a good time.
What was that quote from your introduction post? You said, can you say that again? It was like there's the West and then there's the East and then there's Ireland right in the middle of everything or something.
Absolutely. So we're on the Scholar testnet, and if you have a look at the nice little graphic spinning around of all the block producers, Ireland is right there in the middle, like a little heart pulsing. And that's what we want to offer the EOS network as a whole.
Nice. Well, it's really great meeting you guys. And any final thoughts from you guys about where you see Dublin going, EOS Dublin? What do you think about EOS? Anything in particular we should know about you guys that we haven't covered?
I mean, like a lot of the other block producers, we've got lots of projects that we're working on. Hopefully, we'll be announcing some beta apps that we have ready for June. We think some of them are going to be really interesting. Some of them are ideas that we've tried before and a centralized app, and now we think that the time might be to relaunch it on a distributed network. So I think that would be a very good use case for something that the timing wasn't right, and now on EOS it just might be the right time. So yeah, stay tuned. We'll be shouting about it in a couple of weeks.
Sounds great.
And I'm also trying to get a bit deeper involved into the how we're handling failovers. Obviously, this is a big topic now between block producers. We're running primary and secondary locations, and there's a lot of discussion about how we fail over from the primary to the secondary and make it seamless and all this stuff, which very fascinating. I know there's been a few conversations going around about this. Koshi on EOS Africa has been deep into the code, and he's writing his own plugin to try and help handle this. So I've been looking at it from the infrastructure level to come at this from a different angle. So we have a couple of different things to play around with. So that's where my focus is right now, as well as trying to keep up with all of the other stuff. Like earlier, we had a new tag released. So a new, I guess, a pre-RC2 version that was dropped by Block One. So there was, a mad scramble to get that pushed out, but so far so good.
I wasn't aware of that. I didn't. Is that something that they publicly announced, or?
I don't know. I think it was one of the guys from the Jungle testnet pushed it out and said, "Hey, I just spotted this tag. So quick, let's build it, deploy it, and get it out there." So I think there was a few of us who got it right away.
Very good, very good.
Nice. That's awesome. You guys are very dedicated. You're on it. I saw some of that scramble chat in there. Yeah.
Guys, I know you have Thomas coming on later on, so we do have one question that we'd like you to pose him, and it's just, after launch, how does Block One's roadmap look? And as they start releasing code, how does he see that working? And how do we get that integrated into mainnet?
That's a great question.
I'll write that one down for him, Sharif.
Thanks, Bluejays.
Yeah, thank you for asking. Yeah, appreciate that. If you happen to have any others, feel free to pop them in the chat, as you're listening. So, or you guys might go right to bed. I'm sure it's 1 a.m. in the morning there.
Yeah, so you can always catch the recording.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Maybe a nightcap before bed.
There you go. Yeah. Well, thank you guys for staying up, and we really appreciate it. It's great to meet you guys too. So it's great to hear from EOS Dublin. I know I can't wait to get out to Ireland someday. So,
that's great. And guys, thank you for all your work. I mean, you guys in EOS Go are doing a phenomenal job in just organizing everything and splitting block producers into the various groups, etc. It's just things wouldn't be moving on the way they are without you and your team. So keep it going.
Thanks, guys.
That's great feedback. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, guys.
Thanks,
All right.
guys.
Cheers, guys.
Have a good one.
Have a good one.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Kevin, I didn't know that your favorite beer was Guinness.
Oh yeah, remember we shared a couple at the in Blacksburg there.
Yeah, but I thought when I ordered, you were like, okay, he'll order Guinness, I'll order Guinness.
It's true. It really depends. When you're in the summertime, you don't always drink that Guinness because you need something lighter.
Okay.
But especially in the wintertime when it's cold outside, like we were there in January.
Yeah.
You got to go with the Guinness.
Okay.
It's like
cool.
It's like
That's
drinking
good to know, man.
liquid chocolate in a way, but it's not. It's got a little. It's my hot chocolate. You know what I mean?
It's your hot chocolate.
Well, we have Mr. Cox. You wrote that question down? I didn't write it down.
I got that.
Okay, cool. That is a good question, actually, about Block 1 after the launch. And, of course, they've talked about in the past about their roadmap, the way they project their software. They try to avoid direct deadlines because then that way they're trying to code for the deadline and they're not trying to code for the best quality product. So they have changed that. They don't necessarily set deadlines anymore. But it'll be good to hear what Thomas says.
At least it would be good to know what's on the roadmap. Anyways, guys, we had in Nairobi, we taped the interview this past weekend, and we'll release that probably during the week or next show. So either one will work. We'll slot that one in there. But we're gonna have Thomas Cox come online now, and if he's in the waiting room, please come on in, Mr. Cox.
Yep, he has the go signal there. And also, thank you, EOS Nairobi. And the reason so Mr. Cox is a limited timeline, so we just have to make sure we are able to talk to him this week. And then next week is actually better to fit in Nairobi because we have more space for them. So we will make sure that they're played and they have an adequate, a good spot. So at Nairobi, it's an interesting, I think you talked to them. Can you describe a little bit more about what you learned when you were talking to them?
Yeah, just a little bit about them. Sorry, Mr. Cox, we're just going to talk a little bit about Mr. EOS Nairobi, who we talked to on the weekend. They were very interesting to talk to. They didn't have the infrastructure there of a pervasive internet, so they had to jump on a cafe, and the internet was a little shaky and also a lot of noise around it. So we'll try and make that video a little bit better, but just keep that in mind. It was a pleasure to talk to them, though. So
you mentioned how it's almost going to be a new economy for them, right? It's like a new. I wouldn't call it.
They are depending on EOS to provide for a lot of the citizens there as part of our economy. So provide them with an income, and that's going to help them a lot and help bring up their standards over there as well too.
That's neat. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Cox. Sorry to make you wait there, but.
Not at all. I'm happy to.
Yeah, it's good to see you. Looks like a new background this week, as you said.
No, same one as always. I'm back in Blacksburg.
You're back in Blacksburg, right? That's the one you never left.
Yeah. I will be home. I think I have one weekend at home in Oregon between now and launch.
Wow.
It's going to be pretty intense.
You just had an intense week in general, right? You've been all over bouncing around the U.S.?
Yeah, last week was one of my governance tours, which is how I gather information about, how people are understanding our governance ideas. Governance is that layer that really is most important for people to actually understand. That it's not just code that you click a button and it runs. It's like you have to get it, and having people buy in or ask me tough questions and help us refine it that one more way. It's just crucial. So. Got a lot of great intel and feedback from people. Went to Salt Lake City last Tuesday. Got an awesome Salt Lake City meetup T-shirt, thanks to Mr. Steve Floyd's design, and Eugene got it printed up. And then I went on to Dallas and saw Steve Floyd there, and a great turnout by the Dallas folks. And then on to Austin, Texas on Thursday, and that was just tremendous. And I've got another tour coming up. I've got the 8th of May. I'll be in Seattle, just a day trip up from Oregon before I come back. That's like I'm home for a couple of days. I go to a meetup in Seattle on my way to Blacksburg. And then the middle of the following week, I go to St. Louis to be a speaker at the Gateway to Innovation conference, where I'll talk about EOS governance, then Detroit for a meetup, and then Toronto has got me 3 talks over 2 days. So won't that be fun?
Yep.
Wow. Yeah,
Really looking forward to that. And in one of them, I'm going to be talking to a group at University of Waterloo, which I think, if you know anything about good schools, you know the name University of Waterloo. And I'm going to be explaining to folks who are deep in their academic disciplines that blockchain is perhaps the preeminent cross-discipline field right now, because to really understand governed blockchains and public blockchains and what's popping loose in this space right now, you've got to know, this is a list I got from Ian Grigg, you've got to know economics, finance, game theory, psychology, cryptography, intellectual property, math, computer science, accounting, law, history, and anthropology. I would add sociology and organizational design. So, oh my gosh. And that's, I mean, seriously, all those things are live and happening for us. We are creating this new online society. It's got all the richness and confusion and wonderful human factors that we see in the regular world, plus blockchain. So anyway, so that's what's on my mind as I come into our regular Q&A session here every Monday. And I want to encourage anybody that's ever got any question for me, if you can get it to EOS Go by like mid-morning the day of or midday, that's usually enough time for me to prepare and get you good answers. Because I get asked questions all the time, and I'm like, I don't have time to stop and give one answer to one person. I need to give answers in a public forum where I'm not giving anyone special treatment and where we can really push these answers out to as many people as possible, bearing in mind, I am just speaking for myself. I'm not a spokesman for any organization, and I'm not making any promises on what's going to be delivered. This is just my best effort to give you what I know in the moment.
Thanks, Thomas. I know you're not prepared for this one, but I don't think it's too tough of a question. The EOS Dublin just left, and they may still be up. It was 1 a.m. when they were...
I was watching. Yes, I heard the question, but go ahead and read it again.
Sure. So it says, after launch, how does the roadmap from Block 1 look?
Right. We haven't released a detailed roadmap for anything beyond launch, other than some very basic things like we want to go to multi-threaded. I think everyone knows that. We do have a draft governance roadmap, but honestly, we're so busy working on code and really focused on what we absolutely need to get delivered by June that I'm not sure if we'll finish the roadmap, the governance, and deliver it to the public before the launch. That may have to be a mid or late June thing. We'll just have to see. I can say that we are currently expecting to spend the next 10 years engaged in providing software updates to anyone and everyone that's using the EOS.io software. And you know that because we have 10% of tokens set aside for us that will unlock 1/10 of those tokens at the end of each year for 10 years. So there's a 10-year vesting period for Block 1's tokens. That's actually in the text of the smart contract. So yeah, we're very committed, obviously, to keeping our word on that, which means big incentive to stay engaged and make sure that that token has some meaning, and it also gives us a revenue stream to pay for our time and energy to do things for the chain as a whole. Let's see. In particular, someone had asked about, well, how are we going to do software patches? And the simple answer is, rather than having a repo that we run that we just like push out changes and, hey, this is the new version, it'll have to be a little more deliberate and elaborate, which is normal on a functioning launch blockchain. There'll be some patch, tested and put out as a candidate for software release. And then there'll be a vote of the token holders for an upgrade. It's the same kind of referendum we would hold for either a constitutional amendment to change the governance or to update code. Basically, we would need a majority or a supermajority of token holders, depending on how big of a change it is. And if they maintain a yes vote at whatever that threshold level is for 30 continuous days, then it's approved, and then it goes to the block producers who get a transaction that they sign, and that transaction moves forward and actually causes the code to update in the case of a code change.
I see.
That's interesting. Are there anything, this is actually not on the question list either, just popped into my head, but is there anything else that you've learned in Blacksburg, just happenstance, that we would love to know about?
All the time, every day. I keep written notes usually, so I don't have to keep it all in my head. I had Khaled, who's one of our core developers, walk me through the voting code, like step by step through the C++ and understand that better. Oh, you're going to like this. I wasn't understanding something Dan was trying to explain to me about approval voting and how it's like I was just doing these Pareto distributions of votes using like old style voting thinking, where like you'd never get more than 8 or 12% in first place, and it would trail off pretty significantly. And I'm thinking, like, if you're in 50th place, you're getting a 0.5%. And I really hadn't internalized this 30 vote per account thing, powered up by however many tokens you've got staked. And it's like, no, we can have a bunch of people with 15% and more. I'm like, how is this possible? He said, Tom, you could have, if everyone's got 30 votes and they all voted for the same 30 people, you could have 30 people at 100%. And my mind is just blowing as I'm hearing this. I'm like, I can't visualize the math on this. So I had to do a spreadsheet. I'm going to show it to you right now. If I'm allowed to, yes, share screen. Okay, have a look at that. I'll try and explain this. So this is me trying to understand EOS.io approval voting. And so here's some voters across here, 7 voters, right? And then right below voter name, voter 1, voter 2, voter 3, I've got a number in here, which is how many tokens they've staked for voting. So 100, 50, 82, 190, whatever. And then they each cast a preference vote for 6 of these 14, I just made those numbers up because they fit on the screen, block producers. And you'll notice that block producer 1 is the only one that everybody voted for. And so if you add up all of the vote power that's in play here, it's 2,160 token weight. And sure enough, this person has 2,160 and therefore has 100% approval, meaning everybody voted for them. But of course, everybody but 2 voted for block producer 8. And so that person's at 91%. I'm like, oh, and it's like I'm starting to see that. And after a couple of days of studying this spreadsheet, I think it will finally begin to sink in how this is working. And what I don't yet have is how this turns into the vote bonus amount, but that's like a whole nother block producer pay thing. Anyway, we're going through revisions on block producer pay to make a final code pass and a code spec so that we can let block producers have as clear an idea as it's possible to have before we actually deliver software, what sort of revenue stream they're likely to expect, given all the things we don't know, which is a lot, about this chain that the community is going to launch. So you asked what I learned. I learned that I didn't understand approval voting vote percentages very well, and now I'm starting to a little bit.
Huh.
So that's what I got, and I will share a version of this to you guys. If you'll make your own copy of it, please, and share it out to other folks who are interested, that would be terrific.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Sounds great. Yeah.
So what I'll do is I'll mail you a copy as an attachment.
Sounds good.
Super.
I guess we should get to the questions.
Yes, please.
So, the first question by the EOS Insider. It's an interesting name. I would love to hear Thomas talk more about voting mechanisms on EOS.io. Interesting. Beyond BP picks, what other ways will the power of voting be used within EOS.io? Would it be easy for a dApp developer to implement voting capabilities within their own project without having to reinvent the wheel?
Right. Yeah, so the way voting happens, it gets hard for people to remember that what we're delivering is primarily back-end software. So user interfaces will come largely from third-party developers. We may or may not deliver any front-end software in the beginning or any apps. So the primary thing we deliver that you can use to interact with the blockchain is a command line tool. And so the way you would vote with a command line tool is you would type in a command line saying, I want to vote for the following account names, and then you'd have to sign that. And so the most likely interface will be a third party, maybe Scatter, maybe one of the wallets will give you that, where whatever the thing is you're voting on, say block producers, you'll have a list of them and you tick off which ones you want to say yes to. And then you'll have to hit vote, and then it'll prompt you to sign it with your password to unlock your private key. The underlying code is pretty straightforward, and we are open source. So if you want to make your own voting logic, which is not a bad thing, you can't reuse ours directly the same way you can reuse our token logic. Let me back up and explain that. The EOS token in the default software there's just like this token contract that you just send messages to, and we're going to send messages to it saying make EOS when we launch, or not actually when the community launches. The script calls for them to do that, and then they'll create this token called EOS. They'll issue 1 billion of them, and they'll distribute them. But you can call that token command with a different command than issue EOS. In fact, you wouldn't be able to issue EOS. But you could issue your own stuff from it. And so that's reusable logic. The voting logic is not that generic and reusable. It's really baked down into the system. And so we have a command called, I think it's OK Producer or Vote Producer. I think we just changed the name. That takes an array of producer names or producer account names. And when you sign it, it's on you, and it votes whatever your token strength is in favor of those guys. If you were to look at that code and create your own version of it, which is trivial to do with open source software, you'd make your own data structure very similar to ours, and then whatever it is you're voting for would go in there instead of producers. And you would give whoever it is you're empowering to have votes access to that. Maybe you'd write a front end. And then when they go in to issue their votes, you could just reuse large portions of that code. I hope that's making sense. We should probably, yeah, never mind. That's the best you're going to get out of me here at this point without like screen sharing and showing code samples and walking you through an example.
Okay. Sounds good. And let's go to Roscoe. He asked, if arbitration can roll back any transaction, then how can an exchange accept a customer's EOS trade? A customer might take a transfer of 1,000 EOS to fiat and then leave. The exchange will then have to deal with an arbitration ruling. And it says this could make exchanges stop trading in EOS, correct?
I get the concern. And so let's talk about all the pieces or all the assumptions that are baked into his question. So first off, an arbitrator doesn't roll back a transaction in the sense we normally think, because blockchains are immutable, and you have to like fork them and like go back in time and pick a block and build off in a new direction, like they had to do for the DAO hack over on Ethereum. Was it last year or the year before? And we're hoping not to have to do that. Rather than roll it back in a traditional sense of that it's no longer there, you'd be inserting a correcting transaction that puts things back the way they were, assuming it's possible to construct such a transaction, and it won't always be possible in every single case to do that. And in his example in particular, someone has somehow gotten hold of EOS tokens that in a way that's not rightful or not correct. They've managed to get those EOS tokens onto an exchange. They've turned them into fiat. They've withdrawn the fiat from the system, and they've successfully escaped at that point. And so the person who had the money stolen might go to the exchange and say, "Hey, give me my money back." And this is where a knowledge of the law and property rights and so forth comes in handy. I'm still learning about this. I was challenged yesterday by So on the EOS Go forum, by the way, I might just screen share again to show this to you. It's just so good. So this is in the discussion here under the article. I'll scroll to the top. So this is Article 2 of the draft Constitution, which says, simply the right of contract and private property shall be sacred. I think we changed sacred now. There's been an edit to this, but it hasn't shown up here. I think we're saying inviolate. Therefore, no property shall change hands except with the consent of the owner or by a lawful arbitrator's order. And then down into the discussion, I was challenged, I thought very appropriately, by Mao, who brought up the idea of the bona fide purchaser rule. And there's a legal tradition that says that under certain circumstances, if you purchase something in good faith and you register your ownership and certain other conditions have to apply, you actually do become the new owner, and whoever lost it has just lost it. And they can come after the thief, but they can't come after you as the good faith buyer. But that's not always the case. And then there's another concept related to the bona fide purchaser called the Nemo-Dat rule. And I know you're thinking, oh yeah, the Nemo-Dat rule, right? Or maybe you're not. Anyway, there's a whole long write-up here, which I won't go into, about what that is and what it means, but it has to do with the circumstances in which you can or cannot get back stolen property when it's been sold or resold, and how many times can it be resold before it's just too bloody late, and so forth. And things like a stolen bicycle, it's easier to get those back to the rightful owner. Stolen money tends not to be take-backable beyond a certain point. So the exchange may not actually be liable, depending on their rules and ours. So it's going to be very much a case-by-case basis. And I imagine that most exchanges do a pretty darn good job, better than most banks, of KYC and AML. So they might very well know who that thief is. You might have an off-chain, normal, everyday law enforcement case on your hands, potentially. So I would say one of the things you can do is if you keep your tokens staked, they can't be stolen because it takes 3 days to unlock them.
Good point.
Yeah.
A lot of these exchanges will be decentralized as well. Look at EOS Phoenix, and of course that new announcement from Bitfinex earlier today. Yep. We'll see how that turns out. Yeah.
Cool. Right. I didn't actually, and that's really cool to know. Yeah, super. So let me, this is my data share screens apparently. So let me show you something. I'll do a full screen sharing here. Okay, can you read that?
Yep.
Super. So what you'll see here is an example Ricardian contract for the vote producer command. And this is where I explain to people how the Ricardian contract and smart contracts work together, and all of our system contract commands will have English language Ricardian contracts explaining not only what their intention is, but you have to sign these when you invoke them, which means you're not just issuing a vote, you're agreeing to these terms, which is like pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so let me read this real quick. As an authorized party, I, the signer, wish to vote on behalf of this voter in favor of the block producers in this array with a voting weight equal to all tokens, blah, blah, blah. And then I shift the color to blue to highlight, if I am not the beneficial owner of these shares, I stipulate, remember I'm signing this, I stipulate I have proof that I've been authorized to vote these shares by their beneficial owners. Because remember, if you're an exchange, the beneficial owner is whoever like bought them through you. They're your customers, right? I stipulate I have not and will not accept anything of value in exchange for these votes on penalty of confiscation of these tokens and other penalties. So you are signing that statement when you vote. Can you imagine an exchange that didn't have permission but voted anyway? What kind of deep doo-doo they'd be in? Could be quite wicked, yes?
Yeah.
And then this is a slide showing where the Ricardian contracts go on the system and what they look like. And then when you display them to somebody, and this is up to the people writing front ends, is to get the here in the text, you'll see we use double curly braces around the variables, which makes it really easy to call them out and make them very visible. I, Fred Fox, wish to blah, blah, blah. And you can make them check mark next to these clauses and then sign at the end if you wanted to really get them to psychologically commit as well as legally commit. And all the smart contracts should have Ricardian contracts, and the Ricardian contracts need to have that kind of thought and that kind of language put into them. So I get it that you're worried about exchanges. You should be. We're making it very clear that exchanges need to respect the wishes of the owners of tokens, and the owners of the true owners, the beneficial owners, should be aware of their rights and keep an eye on these exchanges. And maybe they'll change their terms, and you'll have to sign something saying, I give the exchange the right to vote my tokens any way I want to. And then you got to decide if you want your tokens on that exchange. And of course, if they're going to vote them, they have to stake them. If they're staked, they have to be locked. Then they're not liquid, and there's a 3-day period to get your tokens back. So
I just wanted. I did find the statement here, but I just wanted to reiterate my question because I think there was an audio issue on my side. So this is for any block producer, exchanges being a block producer, and whether or not they can leverage the token holders who put their tokens on that exchange to leverage them for voting. And a user called Paulo on the EOS Block Pros Telegram chat responded to a question from EOS New York and Kevin Rose with this same type of concern. And the response was, my project, that is Bitfinex, EOS Finex, will have an internal way of staking for proposals and changes. Customers' money is not ours, so we don't have any benefit in voting with our customers' coins for something that customers don't want. That would simply hurt our business. So this is not an official statement, but it is something that somebody claiming to be from Bitfinex has written in Block Pro's channel.
Right. Now, I will add that it's entirely feasible for an exchange to create some value-added services where, in addition to holding onto your tokens for you, we will even vote them for you, but you tell us how to vote. And then they can have here are the 3 different ways to vote on proposal X, and we'll move tokens into internal wallets and then have that wallet vote this way and this one go that way. And so you can tell us how you like them. And then over a 3-day period, unstake them, move them, stake them. And if I were at exchange, I would stake probably some portion of tokens I hold just to prevent them from being stolen. Because when they're staked, they're not liquid. It's a 3-day lockup.
So you're thinking that
tokens every day, right?
Yeah. Are you thinking, Thomas, that there'd be a big proxy voter?
There's probably going to be a bunch of proxy voters, and a good proxy service will combine a high level of customer service with a commitment to detailed analysis and recommendations on voting. And I'm looking forward to seeing that service arise.
Interesting. Kevin, do you have a question there?
Let's go to Josh Kaufman from the forums. There's been a lot of talk in Telegram in regards to multiple chains and how the EOS token, which is the one that the ERC20 should convert to, will interact over these chains. And while he's not sure there's any clear answers yet, are you able to provide your current and best effort understanding of this as of right now?
This may be a very quick one. I've been reading the same Telegram chat about side chains and parallel chains, and I don't understand it very well. Really don't. It's a little easier if you think about to establish blockchain, let's say you've got an EOS main chain and then Ethereum, which they're both smart contract based, and with a couple of different techniques that we've got for inter-blockchain communication, it should be possible to prove to Ethereum that the thing that I have on the EOS blockchain is, as of this transaction, now like inaccessibly locked in a one-to-one fashion with this other transaction over on the Ethereum blockchain. And so I lock it here, which releases it over there, and then to move it back, I lock it on the second side, which releases it on the first side. So you've got like some sort of transaction that crosses the boundaries of blockchains, at which point we should have mysterious music play. Mm-hmm. It's like, and I don't get, if we have, let's say there's like the main chain and then there's a side chain, does the side chain have its own token? Does it also have inflation? What's that token worth? How does it pay for block production? I don't know. It's going to be a much lower volume chain, so the work involved will be lower, but you're still going to want a certain number of block producers. Maybe if it's I sponsor it, maybe I have some income and I pay block producers out of my pocket to make those blocks. Possibly. I don't know. We're going to have to see. I predict an explosion of creative experimentation around inter-blockchain communication, because right now nobody has it. Smart contracts have been around for a couple of years now, but good inter-blockchain communication, I don't know what that looks like. So I'm dying to find out, like, what laws, what constitution applies. You better tell me when you launch that side chain, dude. Yeah. And I'm going to watch from a distance while it unfolds. I'll put play money in just to see what happens.
Yeah, we're going to have like a Bizarro chain. It's just everything is opposite and different over there.
Yeah, why not? We'll find out.
Yeah. So let's go back to another question from the block producer. The user called block producer on the forums. Generally, if claims or fines were placed against an exchange, it can trigger them to enact policy changes against EOS holders and destabilize our liquidity. That's why I think the original approach of fining exchanges seems risky. Any thoughts on this?
Well, if you're putting your EOS tokens on a sketchy, shady exchange, I think you got more to worry about than just like, it's not as liquid as I like. Dude, get onto a reputable exchange, for heaven's sakes. And by the way, if they get, quote, fined, unquote, and the tokens get lost for really yours, number one, we've got a great case against them in arbitration. And number two, the arbitrator can go grab those tokens and hand them to you. So there's that.
Rule of law chain. Yep.
Rule of law chain.
Katie actually has a question from the chat here. We have a few, but her question is about, will the Constitution have a blanket ban on an investor investing in more than one BP?
Good question. I'm not sure yet. I will tell you just my own muddled thinking on this so far. This is incomplete. They say that the dosage makes the poison, and we've already got a strong cap on any one person or beneficial interest owning more than 10% of all tokens. There's probably a parallel idea that nobody should own more than 10% of two or more block producers. Being a minority owner is trivial. You don't have much power there. You're just helping capitalize them and being exposed to maybe some of their profits. And if the total amount of tokens involved in a deal like that is less than 1/10 or 1/100th of 1% of all tokens outstanding, I don't care. It doesn't sound impactful to me. And I could be totally wrong. But we're gonna see. I was planning to get the rest of the constitutional articles as written so far out this week. So feel free to yell at me late on Friday if I'm not done. You'll see all those on the EOS Go forums. And if someone has something to propose, a suggested additional article, love to see that. Please do pass it on. We'll give it every consideration. I think that the best way to influence block producer ownership and block producer behavior isn't through legal strictures necessarily, except for the most outrageous things, but really the voter preference. That if there's a voter preference for independence among block producers, which I personally expect voters to prefer, but I'm not the voters, right? They will know. I don't know. I'm guessing. I truly am guessing. And I think a lot of what we've been saying to each other about, well, the voters are going to want this or that, we can't know until the voters speak through their votes. But my best guess really is that voters are going to want block producers that are highly technically competent and independent of weird, underhanded influences. And the more proof they offer us that they are independent, and the more they do things like post performance bonds so that they have something even bigger at stake than usual, or other sorts of demonstrations of trustworthiness and good faith. I think those sorts of things, along with a high level of technical competence, will be very attractive. And that's going to steer how block producers form and how they run.
Makes sense. Yeah. And go ahead there, Bluejays.
Yeah, so going on from Josh Kaufman again, he has another question. I'm not sure if I fully understand this one, but I'll read it anyways, and maybe you guys will understand it. Dan Larimer has previously said people could eventually buy symbols on the EOS.token contract to create a new currency, a la ERC20. What are the dynamics of that? Who gets paid? Who decides? What about name squatting?
By the way, I'll say that name squatting is absolutely going to be an issue, as it is with any time a new namespace opens up. It's just so, I'm just putting that out there, that I fully expect that there will be a rush of creation of accounts with names. And if you want your name, you might want to get in there quick. My understanding from last time I had a look at the code and had somebody walk me through the code for the EOSIO.token contract, which is in the repo, it's publicly available, please go look at it yourself, is that I mentioned this earlier, that when the startup process in the BIOS boot node and the appointed block producers during the BIOS boot process, when they first create the initial main chain, assuming they follow the proposal that's been put out there, they will use that system contract to create 1 billion EOS tokens. But that contract is still there, and the issue command accepts an argument of what's the name of the token you'd like to create at this time. And so I don't know what he means by purchase exactly. I need to see whatever it was that Dan said, to buy symbols. Maybe that's just having to stake some tokens so you can run this transaction. But yeah, you'll be able to create your own tokens on the EOS blockchain, and it'll be a co-equal native token. It won't be like a second-hand token like I consider the ERC20 to be. So the same transfer command that you use to move EOS tokens around, you'll say transfer the name of your token. So this might mean that ICOs become very easy potentially on an EOS blockchain, because like we need more ICOs in the world. Who knows? But yes, you will. My current belief, from what I've been briefed on, is that you absolutely will be able to use the EOSIO.token contract as soon as it unlocks, after we get our 15% voter turnout during the boot up of the chain, and you'll be able to make your own tokens. Yeah.
And so we have a question from Roscoe on the forums. He says, Bitfinex, of course, just announced their block producer candidate, and he assumes this is a big positive, and he wants to know your comments on a big exchange being a block producer candidate. And also, in the past, Dan has alluded to large exchanges or dApps being block producer candidates. And any further comment on that?
I haven't talked to Dan about this, and I'll be curious. I'm in Blacksburg this week. I'll ask him. Actually, I'll make a note of that right now. I'll ask him tomorrow. And I will. It's an especially interesting answer. I'll tell you on Telegram, and you can share it through the announcement page. Otherwise, remind me next Monday, and we'll pick it up from there.
Sounds good. Yeah, it's Bitfinex, of course. For those who are not familiar, they announced and they put out a post on all of their official channels that they're running for block producer candidate. the EOS blockchain. So, of course, as we mentioned earlier, you said Paulo was talking about how they cannot vote with token holders' tokens, and how that will not really be one of their interests. So
yeah, he specifically said it would not be good for business. So, I mean,
right.
I think that's a fair statement.
Yeah.
Yes. Misusing the funds of your clients, that shakes people's confidence in you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so. What is the best question you've heard this week on all your meetups that you went to? I'm sure you've had a lot of Q&A sessions.
Wow. So many.
Yeah.
I don't think I could pick one out. I mean, I asked myself when I listened to that question and I sense into it, nothing's coming up for me. There were just so many good questions about. Arbitration was an area of great interest. You know, how will arbitration work, and what are the mechanisms going to be, and so forth. And we have and I'm hoping that we'll be far enough along that we can talk about it in some detail next week on the next EOS Radio with you. But we've got a very talented fellow in the UK. He's based in London. He's a Kenyan extraction, but he's a British citizen. And he's working on what we believe will be the Bootstrap Arbitration Forum, which is a combination of rules and people that will handle the first set of arbitration claims as the chain is getting spun up and as additional forms start to create. And that'll probably, I think, current thinking is that will spin off into its own independent organization.
Excellent.
So,
wow,
we'll see where that goes. I was pretty closely involved in that, and then I recruited him to take it over so that I didn't have to do too many things simultaneously, so I can keep getting the Constitution out in working on some of these other areas.
Excellent. Well, I think we're out of questions for today. So thank you very much, Mr. Cox.
Hey, very much my pleasure. I want to give a shout out to you guys for something you did that just impressed me and delighted me. I don't think I've told you this yet. But when I know the block producer candidates were wanting to self-organize even more and start to create launch teams and really practice the launch process, which is a very important thing for them to practice. And I kind of looked away, and when I looked back, you guys had helped them create 3 groups, each of which would then amongst themselves practice launches. And you, I guess, randomized the groups together to create that, which I thought was a tremendous service for them, because of course the block producers have to get to know each other because they're expected to vouch for each other, and the block producers as a group need to say, from amongst our members, here's the subset that we collectively believe are the most technically competent to perform the launch. And they alone are really best positioned to make that determination. And how are they going to do that if they don't get to know each other in this way? And so that creation of the launch groups, which I hope will get recreated and repracticed and remixed and so on a bunch of times, will give them all some exposure to each other and a chance to sense each other out as well as help each other, and give them the experience they need to make a smart determination of who that go live pool needs to be well in advance of June 2nd at 10 p.m. UTC, when I'm popping champagne and sitting back and watching what happens.
Watching what happens. I think I'm going to be there with you too, man.
I'm hoping there's a live stream. If you guys do a live stream, I'll be on it. I'll run a camera out of Blacksburg and we'll see what happens.
Okay.
Well, we got to make sure to give a shout out to Katie Roman and Top K-Pop for actually organizing those groups and putting those together. And of course,
Katie and Top K-Pop.
Yeah, took the lead on that one. And also, of course, we have started to hear some feedback as to how should they be randomized? Should we shuffle them up? Should block producers vote on who is the best technical candidate? What are your personal opinions on that type of process there, Mr.
I don't know to what extent, because there's a risk, because on the one hand, you need to be able to be open and honest and candid with whatever you're struggling with and get help without embarrassing yourself. And on the other hand, we need to be pretty honest if somebody is, I mean, we heard this earlier from one of the earlier interviews, which I thought was very accurate, that there are probably some block candidates that seem to be coming across as mostly PR outfits. And they don't have the kind of technical prowess that in general they're going to need. And for the launch in particular, the very tricky, critical, vital window of time during the launch, we need our absolute best people there. So there's some kind of a trade-off here between just kind of messing around in public and showing off your warts and trying to get better in the process, which we all have to do, and letting it be known that maybe you're not good enough to be in that go live pool. But how are you going to get better? Yeah. How are you going to get better? So I would say if you're one of those block producers and you're thinking maybe you're not in the top, third or the top fifth or whatever, you're a little uncertain, is get out there and with good faith and a good heart, just try the launch and launch standalone little local test nets inside your own servers and launch with other people, and just try again. And don't hide your mistakes and don't try to look better than you are, but just be really sincere and stay committed to the greater good, because I think that's what makes people want to help you, is when you have that kind of an attitude. So ultimately, we have to keep our eye on the good of the group and the good of the chain as a whole, and that can only be served by, when it comes to the launch, the block producers themselves rating each other and deciding. I would ask a block producer, in addition to you, who are the top 5 or 10 block producers you'd be most comfortable going live with? And whatever the answer to that is, that creates the rating. I will add that EOS Canada is doing wonderful work with the BIOS process, and they appear to have a mechanism for automating exactly that question of who do you trust, who do you like. So we'll see if that makes it out into their next announcement.
Cool.
I'm tremendously impressed and excited with them, by the way.
Yeah, they're doing great work. And for those who are not familiar or as familiar with the BIOS boot process, you're saying the appointed block producer candidates, they're the go live group, and they're just helping.
Prior to them, remember, there's the group of 50 from which the BIOS boot and the appointed and the first round of elected producers all come from. And they can't be just any random block producer. If the community, and they don't have to do this, by the way. In my write-up, I suggested there be a randomized process to pick the BIOS boot, which means you don't want anybody in the pool who couldn't do it, because any one of them might do it. That's why you've really got to have a high technical bar. Now, they might not choose to do that. They might all say, Fred over there, it's EOS Wakanda. He's got that vibranium technology. That's the one, man. He's the BIOS boot node. And if they all agree to that, what am I going to do? I'm not launching the chain. I've got nothing to do with the launch. That's up to them. But a reason I included a randomization step in there is because it's a countermeasure against certain kinds of potential collusion and the fear of collusion on the parts of people who may not be that technical. And there's a lot of paranoia, and a lot of that paranoia is pretty healthy. I think we need to be skeptical. We need to demand proof. We need to take reasonable countermeasures against collusion and insider dealing of various kinds, because I think that's healthy for the community as a whole.
EOS Wakanda sounds like someone's been watching Black Panther on their plane ride, I would say.
I was putting up on one of my slides, EOS Dash, and like I get Poughkeepsie or where's the on February 2nd, the groundhog comes up, Puxatawny. I have EOS Puxatawny in there as a joke name. And someone said, you need to have EOS Wakanda. And I'm like, oh, you're right, I do. Wakanda. I'll go back and fix my slide and add that.
I'm still waiting for EOS Antarctica. I haven't seen them yet.
Hey, it could happen. We have people there. There are human beings there. They've got computers, darn it.
And they're
not sure how good their internet connection is.
I just had one comment about the previous conversation about technical chops. We had the guest on earlier, Tokenika, and they were pretty confident about their technical chops, knowing being involved in the DPoS space with Steemit and stuff. And it's funny, I looked at them on our BP reports, and I think they're one of our lowest ranking block producers. So it's interesting how they only had, I think, 1 or 2 check marks, but yet they're very seems to be very competent.
There's a difference between whether you've got check marks and whether you can do the work, the technological work of the launch and the running of the block producer. I remember I saw one person say, get very upset. They're on a Telegram channel saying, "We've only got 4 check marks, but we've got 6. We've earned 6, but we can't seem to find out how to get the data in it." So there's some confusion in some areas on how to get their listing up to date. Maybe you could say something for block producers right here on just to remind people on how to get your data up to date and accurate for the EOS Go block producer listing.
Yeah, we're looking to hopefully deprecate the reports here eventually, fairly soon. We started that new BP portal, block producer portal.
Right.
But we have still been using those reports. And of course, the submission process, we're still using that old submission process. So you have to go through the Google form to get your name and stuff on the reports. So anyway, long story short is we'll have more information coming hopefully soon on that.
Gotcha. Well, I will say, if anybody's run a DPoS block producer for Steam or BitShares, I imagine that there aren't a lot of people who've done DPoS block producers, and so that would encourage me. And of course, time will tell, and I'll be very interested to see how the block producers assess each other,
right,
and how that all plays out.
Agreed.
Thanks for the insight, Mr. Cox. It was amazing having you on the show, as usual.
I love it. I love this community. Every week on Friday, I journal every day. And every week on Friday, I sum up my week and I reflect and I ask myself, what am I grateful for? And there hasn't been a week gone by that I don't write down how grateful I am to this community. That's cool. The two of you, Top K-Pop and Katie, and just all the amazing people who have volunteered their time and energy because of the vision that we share of a decentralized future and the incredible potential and opportunity that's represented in the software and in this community. So remember, it's not just software; it's the people that are going to make this chain what it's going to be.
Yep.
Agreed.
I said at one of my meetups, I've met some Bitcoin folks, and they tend to be pretty win-lose oriented, and I got mine, to heck with you, and very kind of rude. And you think, well, proof of work, there's no cooperative moves in the proof of work. It's like you're throwing elbows in each other's faces and trying to push each other out of the way to grab block rewards. And there is no cooperative move in that universe, nor is there supposed to be, I guess. But you look at our universe, it's like everyone who's interested in crypto but finds the kind of the mean, rude, crude, win-lose approach kind of gross, they're all here in our community being nice and cooperative and not naive, but creating that positive sum game that I think is going to make us a very different and a very wonderful place to live and to work and to create an amazing future.
Well said, as usual.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Thanks so much. I'm going to run. Take care.
Thank you, Thomas.
Take care. Man, he's inspiring.
Woo. He just gave us a motivational speech there to end the whole talk. That was great.
Yeah.
How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Yeah, it's about the community, right? We as individuals, we contribute to this thing, and we're going to be in it, and we're going to be all the people that we're meeting and on these interviews, and we're going to be knowing them for a while, I think.
It's very true. It's like new coworkers and collaborate. It is a collective. I mean, more than anything else, it's the first time that a community can share value and reward each other for that value provided to the community. And of course, this is just the first of those many communities that will be built on top of EOS as well. So whatever you're interested in, hopefully eventually will be a community by itself, and you can be a part of that community as well. It's a cool world we're about to experience, I think.
In 6 weeks, yeah.
So, 6 weeks is just the beginning. Obviously the building blocks will then start to build on top of this new foundation that is going to be laid in June 2nd.
It's like you purchased the house and now they're building it, and then you get to move in closing day,
You get to stand on your concrete slab foundation on the moving day on June 2nd. And then you look around and you go, wow, we need some developers to build these walls and
Yeah.
get the door up here. But yeah, man, it's looking
There's
great.
like rebar coming out of it and stuff. Yeah, it's like
Yeah. The plumber just showed up, but you don't have
no water. I got
no water yet. Let's go to the news. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. You know what we're about to talk about. Bitfinex, the big news of the week, just came out today. Bitfinex announced they're a block producer candidate. There were some mixed feelings about this, actually. A lot of folks are excited, but also scared in a way. Bitfinex, they talked about their military-grade hardware servers that they're going to provide. Now, I always felt, I mean, this is just my personal opinion, but I always felt that someday military-grade security around these data centers would be necessary. Imagine if you have billions and billions of dollars worth of value flowing through these servers, and Joe Schmo criminal finds out about this, he's going to try and hack these or steal these data centers. Of course, that wouldn't get him much, but Joe Schmo criminal doesn't know a whole lot, probably. So Bitfinex is kind of upping the bar, as we've seen a lot of block producers do for each other as time has gone on here, and they've just taken up another notch, in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, military-grade hardware sounds really cool and safe and secure and something that our community needs. And
yeah, and
yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just I mean, they're based out of Switzerland, it says. So there's more that security, I guess you could say. And then 1.5 terabytes of RAM on their it's two servers they're using, one for backup with the following specifications, 1.5 terabyte of RAM.
Wow, that's a lot.
A tremendous amount. Yep. Compared to a lot of folks. So they, of course, they have the money to throw around, right? And they even talk about that. We can scale up as necessary, as needed, and we will. And so on and so forth. And of course, they're launching their EOS Phoenix Exchange is their community benefit project, as well as Sunbeam, which is called it's an experimental Node.js library that they're finalizing and about to offer, as well as hackathons and education. So they're basically doing a lot of the things that other block producers are doing, but they are taking it up another notch or two. Yeah. What are some of your other thoughts there?
Well, I mean, the concerns that the community have already aired out in public regarding the voting of obviously the exchanges are going to be pools of tokens, and whether or not they can leverage that pooling to serve their own needs without the customer's consent is the major concern out there. I believe the user on the Telegram has said that they will not. Still waiting for an official statement, but that's, I think, everybody's major concern is these tokens have utility associated with them. They have processing, CPU, they have storage, they have voting, and they have RAM. And it's like, if you're just going to have all of these utility tokens sitting around, you're having a lot of power and a lot of utility. So what can you do with them? What rights will an exchange have? And will they use them nefariously or without permission?
And that fear arises from, I'm not sure who it was exactly, but it's an old BitShares issue where there was an exchange that went ahead and voted either for or against a worker proposal. I don't remember which one it was, but they basically took the power of those token holders that were on the exchange and they voted either for or against that worker proposal in the exchange's own favor. And that was a big issue in the BitShares community, but there was nothing that could be done to stop it.
Interesting.
So I think that's where that concern arises from. And of course, the other big concern is, large token holders, whales. Everybody's always talking about whales and how they might affect the whole process. And of course, there's that new 10% cap in the EOS.io Constitution draft by Thomas Cox. He talked about that in the most recent Constitution article, I believe. So the 10% cap basically says that no one can hold more than 10% tokens in one account. However, the first question that comes up is, how do you verify different identities? If there's a group of folks, they could have just different accounts and spread out their tokens through all these different accounts. So
Sybil, yeah.
Sybil attack, SYBIL, for those who are not familiar. So those questions still remain, but like we said, it's just the foundation is all this being laid in June, right? All these other building blocks need to take place to build this city, right? This house that we're trying to build with EOS. So that's where the identity will come into play. That's how we prevent those kind of attacks, those kind of things. But yeah.
Maybe it's more like a condo. A house is too small for all of us, you know. It's like maybe a bigger condo, an apartment building.
I think you're right. Yeah, more like a city, really. I mean, come on.
Yeah, you're right.
We don't want some
what are we
condo
talking about here? It's like, how can it just be a house?
Right. We got to expand our minds here. Come on, where's our vision?
That's right. Global, decentralized. Yeah.
What was the other big news of the week there, Bluejays, that you saw?
So there was another piece of Bitfinex news. I believe they had some support for the token swap. I think that is a major concern for people going over to when this token swap happens come launch time, and Bitfinex will be supporting that. Obviously, they probably know that that will give them a lot of deposits and stuff like that. So that is definitely something they probably want to support. Now, whether you want to put your coin, your token there is totally up to you. So.
Right. And we always talk about this. Andrew M. from EOS Atlanta, he wrote that great article and posted it on our account to get it widely read. But basically, it was the How to Own Your EOS on Launch Day article. And he talks about registering the tokens and why that's important and why you might actually gain more tokens and more money that way if you were to have your EOS in your own possession. And the reason he's saying that is there may be multiple chains that launch, and there probably will be multiple chains that launch on launch day. For example, if you have one group of block producers and they say, we're the best, we have the best technical specifications, we are the top ones to launch the chain. Well, there could very well be the second set of block producers that say, no, we're the best, and we're going to launch our own chain. So therefore, you have EOS 1, EOS 2, EOS 3, all these different chains. Which token do you get from Bitfinex, right? You have Bitfinex deciding how you earn those tokens. Will they give you all the different tokens? Maybe and maybe not. The only way to know for sure is if you have registered your own tokens, and then you'll just sit there on launch day and put your hands back behind your head. You just sit there and go, oh, wow, all these different, making it rain, right? Is that the saying?
That's right.
Yeah, well, so that's the reason. I don't have any strong feelings either way. I know that it's much easier for folks to just leave it on Bitfinex and forget about it and hope for the best, right? But like Andrew M. says, if you want to make sure that you're getting the most out of your tokens, then register them yourself. Go through those steps and make sure you know how to do it. So, of course, we should go ahead there, Bluejays.
Oh, I didn't really have anything to say other than that, Kev. I was thinking of what other news topics that we had.
Yeah, we should probably go ahead and talk about the price just a little bit more. It has continued to climb some. And the cryptocurrency markets in general are starting to climb as well. And getting a little off topic from EOS, but I saw this interesting graph, and it was basically the number of users who had been downloading cryptocurrency apps off the App Store. And so it's been going down for a little while. You know, starting about April, early April, it started going back up again. And you know what that means? People are starting to get more interested in crypto, and it's more of a sentiment type analysis. So as always, this is not financial advice in any way. We don't know what we're talking about at all. We're just here to talk to Thomas and all the other block producer candidates and anyone else. So don't take this as a financial advice. But what are your thoughts there, Bluejays?
I would agree with us not knowing what we're talking about, for sure. Don't we don't speak for anyone except ourselves, and this is our own personal opinion. So yeah, that's enough on that. I don't think this week was a big news week, guys. So I think everyone's hunkering down, getting ready for the launch in 6 weeks, and block producers are grouping together and naturally sorting things out there. And I'm excited to see what comes out of that. And come 6 week time, we should probably have a little bit more clarity of what's going to happen.
Sure. And there was that sneak release, I guess you could call it, found earlier today from release candidate pre-2, I guess it was. It wasn't a full-blown release candidate, but it's something that sent the block producers scrambling from the community test nets. So that was exciting. But yeah, I think you nailed it. Everybody's hunkered down. The developers are developing over in Block 1. I'm sure Blacksburg, the office is very busy. And hopefully we'll hear more from Thomas. As he said, he's there now. And we'll have more info for us coming up soon. Meetups. Let's see if we have anything. There's New York is holding one May 10th. It's EOS New York meetup number 4, building apps on EOS, right? They actually put the word dApps on there, but Sharif from EOS Dublin said it well. It's just their apps, right? To the consumer. The consumer doesn't care if it's D or not.
Right.
So just building apps on EOS, and they're going to have more of a technical meetup. They're going to bring your laptops to this one, they said, and they're going to show the tutorial provided by OCI, which is Object Computing, and they are actually, many of the developers are contracted with Block One to help develop EOS.io software directly. So these guys are well positioned to help with smart contract development. They would know all their stuff when it comes to actually programming these smart contracts. So if you'd like to learn there, you certainly can. Do you have any others that you know of?
No. Meetups, just the ones that Thomas mentioned earlier. He's going to be going off to Detroit and Toronto in mid-May over here. That's all that I had, Kevin. As well, if anybody has any information on meetups, please go to bp.esgo.io and add the information there so that the community can see what your meetup, where and when your meetup is.
Yeah, and there are actually a few of these governance meetups still coming up. Thomas mentioned the ones in Toronto. He has 3 of them all in a 2-day span, I believe it is, in the Toronto area. And that is the weekend of May 17th, I believe. Yeah,
so on May 17th, I believe that's a Friday, he will go to the University of Waterloo in the lunchtime afternoon. In the evening, he will head to downtown Toronto. And then in the next morning, on the Saturday the 18th, he will go to the York University campus, where they have a blockchain center of excellence there. And he's rightly so excited. The University of Waterloo it's a big computer science hub. I remember back in my early days in high school, there used to be a rumor that that Mr. Gates from Microsoft used to personally go there and hire the top computer science students. So it's a hotbed of computer science talent.
Sure. Yeah, and I set you off on the wrong foot, actually. It was the 17th is a Thursday, and he will actually be in Detroit on that Thursday. And then the 18th is that Friday, and that's when the Toronto meetups you mentioned start in the order that you were talking about.
Okay.
So if you are worried about the dates, 18th is May 18th is a Friday.
And that would make the York University on the 19th morning.
Yep, exactly. Correct. And those are on bp.eosgo.io. And of course on the meetups.com page as well, if you're into that, search around. So any thoughts of the week there, Bluejays?
Not really. I don't have any thoughts of the week. I sort of gave a hint to the one that I think that everyone's just hunkered down and making the rubber hit the road at the time. And I personally would like to say, it's all about technical chops at this time. It's all about protecting the network. It's all about security. It's all about being technically proficient. So don't worry so much about the formalities of some of the things that we have in our checkmark list. It's there as a basic requirement. We're going to look to evolve that and get better. But for now, we need to get this network up and going.
Yeah, well said. And so EOS Canada's put out those series, and they've talked about how important security will be during the launch process. There will almost definitely be attacks against the block producers who are trying to launch the network, DDoS attacks, and who knows what else will be happening at the same time. So security will be very important, and that's partly why the block producers will need to know what the heck they're doing, not to mention the actual process of launching itself. So there's a lot that goes into it. And of course, those block producers who are and going back to the report as well, this is more, it's a report that helps voters get to know the block producer candidates better, right? The check marks, that's all they are. They're just, has the block producer candidate put the photos of the team on Steemit, for example, so that it's verifiable and people can go back and see it. Tokenika, as an example, they haven't necessarily done all that stuff. They haven't shared it all, but like you said, it's because they have their heads down and they're working really hard on all their projects and so on. It doesn't mean anything when it comes to their technical proficiency. So we all have a lot of, and Thomas has talked about this too, really the block producers are the best candidate. They're the best ones to determine who is most proficient technically, right? The average voter doesn't know or possibly even doesn't care about that kind of stuff. So we need the folks who can peer review and go into that in more detail. So that'll be an ongoing process, and we'll try to help where we can, but really it's block producers are sort of taking the lead on this one, I guess. It's the way it probably, because they're the best peer review for each other in terms of who's the most technically proficient, therefore they have the best chance of successfully launching this chain and getting it up and going. And then the voters can take over because they can vote who they actually want in. The initial block producers will be appointed they'll be the appointed block producers, but then the voters will come in and actually vote for who they want in there. So anyway, long story short is, let's just get this thing up and going, right? That's the main thing.
I'd like to point everyone to the EOS Block Pros Telegram channel, which is at t.me/EOS Pros. You can get more information on the block producer stuff there.
And I noticed that channel has exploded the last week or so. It's, in terms of the number of people in there, it's really gone up quite a bit. So join in the discussion there if you want to know more about the whole process. The block producers are doing their very best effort to be as open as they can, but there is some stuff that has to happen where a lot of the technical stuff, like we just mentioned, you don't need to know it anyway, or you probably don't care that much. So if you don't necessarily read every line, that's okay. We'll all get the information in the end. So it's good stuff. Good week there, Bluejays. And it's good to see you. I guess I'll see you again next Monday, huh?
Yep, I will. And go EOS.
Go EOS.
Good night, everybody.
See ya.